Welcome to the regular meeting, Guadalupe City Council, July 14th, 2026 PM, 6 PM. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Costa Junior,
Here.
Councilmember Fernez,
Here.
Councilmember Villegas,
Here.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Here.
And Mayor Julian.
Here. Will you please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item is a moment of thanks, appreciation, and condolences. Is there anyone in the council wishes to address that? Good. Gene? Okay, good. There's gonna be a few little changes here there in how we present the agenda. And if there's a snafu, it's my fault. So I'm gonna work with the city clerk to basically to inform the public more of what we're trying to do. So agenda review, any members of the council wish to change the order of business? We're good. Next item is community participation. City clerk, will you read that?
Each person will be limited to a discussion of 3 minutes or as directed by the mayor. Pursuant to the provisions of the Brown Act, no action may be taken on these matters unless they are listed on the agenda or unless certain emergency or special circumstances exist. City council may direct staff to investigate and or schedule certain matters for consideration at a future city council meeting.
Thank you. We have the first person who wishes to speak on the community participation is Emma Vega.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Mayor, Council. My name is Emma Vega. Currently, I serve as Santa Barbara County Organizer for Californians for Pesticide Reform, or known as CPR. We are a new organization now serving the residents of Santa Barbara County. I began my role last year in November and have focused on organizing the community here in Guadalupe since January. Overall, my goal is to make the communities in the county aware of the public health issues presented by the large amounts of agriculture. CPR's mission is to protect public health, improve environmental quality, and support a sustainable and just agriculture system by building a diverse movement across California to change statewide and local pesticide policies and practices. We do this by the following: build a strong and diverse coalition of organizations and individuals speaking out about the dangers that pesticides pose to public health and the viability of alternatives. Increase public understanding of pesticide use and health risks associated with pesticides and the failures of the state's regulatory system to protect us from these hazards. Expand and support a network of grassroots communities, activists pursuing local pesticide reform in their own regions, and mobilizing their communities to push for statewide policy reform. Promote the viability of alternatives to pesticides in agriculture, forest and urban settings, and oppose genetically engineered pest control applications where they pose unknown effects on the health and the environment. We had a successful event here in the community back in March of this year. We had a great turnout of over 30 Guadalupe residents. Guadalupe residents were introduced to CPR's mission and resources. Community members were made aware of spray days, a first of its kind notification system in the world. Individuals who sign up are made aware of pesticide applications within a 1-mile radius of their home or preferred locations. Since March 18th meeting, we have gathered together since once a month. We have a good turnout between 10 to 12 attendings, but we hope with your support we can grow more. With that, I would like to invite council to our next coalition meeting on July 22nd, starting at 6 p.m. here at the Guadalupe Senior Center. While I could go on longer, I want to make this a brief introduction and potentially bring a presentation to council about spray days, along with information about the top pesticide applications used in our county and city. Thank you for your time. And as presented, there is our flyer for this week and my card if you guys like to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you going to the center too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next individual is Ms. Stephanie Kraus.
Hello, city council members, city employees, and members of the Guadalupe community. Tonight, I'm here to make a public comment concerning a new property that my husband and I own, the Red Barn, located at 1079 Guadalupe Street. We also purchased another building within the same complex. In April, I began the process in order to get a business license for the Red Barn. I filled out the application and turned it in. I was told I would need to reach out to building and planning. In this office, I explained the nature of our business. It was not different from the previous owners. The plan was to have short-term event rentals, typically for groups of 80 to 100 people. Examples included birthdays, baby showers, celebrations of life, wedding receptions, family events, and small conferences. Mr. Scott let me know that he would look at what had been done in the past. He found that a conditional use permit was previously issued to the Tologan family with Joe signing, and it was recorded. A parking management plan at that time in 2019 consisted of a half-page letter to the city. At that time, contracted city planning director Larry Apple approved it. I received an email that indicated I needed to prepare a parking management plan. Mr. Scott came to the property and estimated a total of 40 parking spaces. I also talked with Mr. Trujillo. I then went all over the city counting parking spaces in the downtown city lot, the south side of Leroy Park, the Veterans Building, and on the street. Since our events would be for mostly related small groups of people, approximately 50 cars with 2 to 5 passengers each would need to park, approximately 40 parking spaces on site and 10 additional cars off-site. As the Red Barn LLC is located in a mixed-use district of the city, some requirements for parking can be waived according to city planning documents. I emailed my plan to Mr. Scott, Mr. Trujillo, Mayor Julian, Mr. Apple, and Chief Cash. Since that time, I've received multiple emails, but no coordinated message to get the license issued. So now I ask you, what's the way for me to get the license? It seems like there's really no procedure in place to get businesses up and running. 2 years ago, Mr. Apple came to the Guadalupe Business Association meeting and he asked us business owners what we need to get more businesses to open along Guadalupe Street. We members voiced our frustration with building owners not wanting to open their doors to rent to potential business owners, and no incentives for building owners motivated to rent out their commercial buildings. Now I am a building owner and a business owner, and I'm ready to get my business off the ground. However, it feels like I'm being penalized. What can be done now to solve this problem? Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. I think Larry's around here somewhere. Larry, you heard what she's saying, and so did Bill. So it sounds like that's a request is directed to you two, and then back to us, and also David. So.
Actually, I believe the last email came from between me and Chief about requesting the parking plan to not have the Veterans Memorial Building included, as that's a second fire department location. And then once that is done, I believe that would meet all the requirements for the parking, and then we would be able to issue the license.
Okay.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, council members. This is a project that I worked on many years ago, and the council was concerned at the time that we approved it because of the residential units that were to the south. And now, years later, we have residential units to the north. And so we were wanting to make sure that we were going to not be an impact on them. And that would mean primarily for parking. If the lot filled, then the neighborhood would probably fill with the extra residents or the extra guests. And so the reason for having a parking management plan was to take care of those times when there was going to be an event that went larger than when we thought they would use just the parking lot. So rather than wait until we have one of those situations, and I believe the parking management plan, the one-page plan that was submitted by the owner, it was the last 2 lines said, well, if we go beyond that, then we should talk to planning and building about what we need to do. And my point is that we need to solve this before we get in a situation where they might have an event that's going to be large. And what we had envisioned was that the owner would go to some other commercial business in town where they could have a shuttle bus taking people to and from. That's what we did in Santa Maria for large events. They could also engage the city if the city wanted to offer certain lots available to them for the events. That would be fine too. But we wanted to have that as a recorded document, so we knew for sure that if they were going to be exceeding that they had a plan in place that could take over. And so Bill and I were talking about this just recently, and the one place that I was thinking was that corner where the old gas station was. That's very close. And if there could be some way of working an arrangement there, people could park and they could just walk. You wouldn't need the party bus or anything like that for shuttling. So we're willing to work with them, but I'm just not willing to go against what the original conditions and the findings were, where we approved it, saying that we were pretty much guaranteeing that it was not going to be an impact to the surrounding neighbors. So that's where we're at. And I just today, it's funny now that we're in this meeting, because I had a phone call apparently from the 10th from the owner, and I just saw it today. So I returned her call and said I'd be willing to work with her and help her out on it, but apologized for not getting back sooner. But Bill and I have been in contact all along, and we've also been working with the chief on this as well. So we hope to get it worked out, but we do need to have a recorded agreement between either the city or some other commercial property that can take on the additional vehicles that would be for one of the large events that they're wanting to hold.
You know, this is basically for discussion only, but the city parking lot, there's a sign that says the city public parking. And one of the other issues is that there's one home, I don't want to go too much into detail on Olivera and 10th, that has, when the residents are there, that whole parking street is gone. There's no parking at all. So my thing is looking at that Al's Union and have an agreement with the business to say it's available now.
Mhm.
It's a matter that needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but
Yeah. You wouldn't need that many parking spaces
no,
either.
okay, yeah.
So that's
All right, so it's
what I
back-
can tell you for now.
Okay.
I know it's a non-agendized item,
I
and
don't-
the attorney's
All right.
probably having a trouble with
So
it. So
maybe we should
Sorry,
come
Bill.
back, we'll come back and put it in writing so that we can move forward so she can get her business going. So,
we'll do everything we can.
okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, item, request to speak, Judy.
Good evening, city council members and city employees. I wanted to follow up on the business owners comments for the Red Barn. And it sounds like it's going to be resolved. So I appreciate Mr. Scott and Mr. Appel's time. And it sounds like everything's already working out, because I was representing the Guadalupe Business Association this evening as the vice president. And so I'm very pleased to hear that it's in the works and it will be taken care of, because I believe that the business that not only the Red Barn will be able to have events for the public, but also the businesses that are in the front will also benefit the city as well. So thank you very much for your time, and I greatly appreciate the speedy assistance of the people involved to get their business license taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, individual, Francis Romero.
Well, good evening, Mayor Aristone, council members, staff, and members of the public. My name is Francis Romero. I'm here tonight to first say item number 10 on the agenda, about time. At any rate, I do want to give a little history lesson. When I was mayor in 2012, the city had a $3 million general fund budget, and they had $2.2 million in revenue. So at that time, there was approximately a 25% structural budget deficit of $600,000 to $700,000. I worked with Andrew Carter very closely through 2013 and 2014. With his research, he determined that for at least 14 years, the city of Guadalupe had papered over their structural budget deficits of varying amounts using special and restricted funds, which is illegal. I know that's not a real popular word, but that's what it is. When you take money from a special restricted fund without a legitimate loan and without a righteous payback schedule that is achievable. At the end of 2014, the community of Guadalupe gave us a vote of confidence by passing 3 ballot measures because we had fully disclosed what had been going on and we had assured the citizens that that would no longer happen. We took a one-time loan out of special and restricted funds that was paid back. Mr. Carter stayed on through 2016, and through that period of time, the budget was run properly. Now we fast forward to later on tonight, which is on the agenda. And it appears again that the city has returned to its inability to live within its means. And I have to say, it's quite disappointing, given the amount of sacrifice that the union opened up their contracts. Everybody took a 5% pay cut across the board. Mr. Carter even opened up his contract, and he was underpaid to start with because he was department head of everything but public safety. He even took a budget cut, a pay cut. And when I look at something that's not on the agenda tonight, that's the Royal Theater. The soft costs of the Royal Theater total $2.1 million. You have a revenue source of about $6.1 million. So basically 1/3 of your actual revenue is in theory being allocated to a soft cost project. The Royal Theater project was never properly scoped from day one. I am a land use consultant and I've worked with developers for over 20 years on projects of varying sizes. You knew how much money was available through that free money grant process that the city of Guadalupe takes advantage of regularly because we are a disadvantaged community. However, nobody designed a project that met within the parameters of the funding available. I think you guys need to start doing a better job.
Thank you for your valuable comments. Any other? Okay. This is 15. 15. All right, we'll go to item 6, which is a consent calendar. City Clerk, will you please read that?
Each person will be limited to discussion of 3 minutes or as directed by the mayor. Pursuant to the provisions of the Brown Act, no action. Oh, sorry.
Oops,
Did
it's
I go?
okay. Good
Sorry.
practice.
I skipped back. Sorry.
Mr.
The
Mayor,
items are presented for
I
city
think there's
council.
more comments.
You have a paper? Yes.
Yes, it should
Which
be-
item, which item is it? That's their 13. We're on item 6.
Oh, yes, sorry, Mayor. I did put it at the top. Did I
Wants to speak to community participation, but she has
Yes.
item 13 that she wants to discuss.
yes, I apologize. She actually asked if
She
she could.
apologizes to you. Come on, Judy. Thank you.
Good evening, council and mayor. My name is Jeannie Mello. I haven't been here in a long time. I'm here tonight to oppose the changing of the street name Cesar Chavez. This does not mean I condone what is being reported he has been accused of, but it does mean I believe this is a frivolous waste of money our city cannot afford. The man is dead. Let sleeping dogs lie. I met Cesar Chavez years ago. The man I met was kind, soft-spoken, and caring. I can't speak to his character, only to how he presented himself. To judge him now and obliterate his name doesn't change what he's been accused of. It only wastes further money Guadalupe is not in a position to waste. Please, for the residents that have put their trust in our council, take hold of the reins and turn Guadalupe around into a thriving community again. Stop spending and shuffling money needlessly and haphazardly. You are solely accountable for this city's progress and/or lack of it. We nominated the 5 of you to take care of us and this city. Stop shrugging off that responsibility and turning a blind eye to what's right in front of you. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anybody else out there that wishes to speak on item 5? So we'll go to item 6. Judy, will you read that, please?
The following items are presented for city council approval without discussion as a single agenda item in order to expedite the meeting. Should a council member wish to discuss or disapprove an item, it must be dropped from the blanket motion of approval and considered as a separate item.
Is there a council member that wishes to pull an item for further discussion? Christina, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? Excuse me, let me, Francis, you were looking at 6B?
Thank you, Mayor Julian.
Okay.
I wanted to comment on the warrants. I think they're presented much more clearly than they ever have been. And I want to say that I'm very impressed with both Eli and David for a variety of reasons, least of which is their willingness to bring forward the issues that actually exist in this community. The process of going through the warrants is very similar to what most of us probably do with our monthly budgets, with our checkbook. And if every time you got to the end of the month and you were spending $3 for every $2 that you brought in, how long could you do that? You have options. You can put it on credit and pay interest. You can get a second job. You can get a better job. There are a variety of things you can do. But if you do nothing, it catches up with you sooner or later. And honest to goodness, I could not be more angry, disappointed, or sad seeing how hard we worked to get a balanced budget in this city and to see that now we have a $6.1 million revenue situation. And we're just like spending $9 million. You have a 37% budget deficit. I did not prepare my comments today, which is dangerous. And I am really trying to be as politically correct as possible. But activity is not achievement. Hope is not a plan. And no one fails to plan, yet you have failed. No one plans to fail, but you have failed to plan. When you took on that grant for the Royal Theater, you did so on a project that was not scoped properly. You did not allow a contingency. If you had 10 million, you should have planned for a project that took 8 million to complete so that you would have a 20% contingency. Instead, you're going to lay people off, and you might not even end up with a building that generates any revenue because no one's done a pro forma to see if you can even afford the monthly expenses. There is no magical nonprofit sitting out there that's going to come in and be able to afford utilities and the insurances and staffing. You don't even know if that building will break even. And you're risking the entire future of this community. You're risking public safety, you're risking infrastructure by spending $2.1 million that you don't have. How can you in good conscience adopt the budget you have in front of you tonight, knowing that you are like $3 million short? Does it keep you up at night? It should. And in all honesty, there is not enough sales tax or things to purchase in this community to make this go away. So any thought that, oh, if we just shop here or eat here a little more, it's going to fix it, doesn't even work that way. I am so disappointed. And in all honesty, I would step down if I were you. And if you intend on running again next time, you really need to do something differently because you're going to bankrupt this city if you keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Okay, now is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All ayes, thank you. We'll go to the management reports. City Clerk, will you read that item 7, please?
A, City Administrator's Report for July 14, 2026. B, Planning Department Report for June 2026. C, Building Department Report for June 2026. D, Public Works Engineering Report for June 2026.
So who has that? You, David?
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff and community. So we will start with the Public Works report. Just to give just like a brief kind of quick little overhead of Pasadena has the bridge going up still. They got partial permit for boring under the tracks. And then we have some stuff on the agenda tonight to get signed so that they can get the rest of their permitting. Last month, we were able to recoup $1.5 million in grant reimbursements. So we're getting that back in the coffer. The maintenance department was all over the place, fixing all kinds of stuff from the park to East and West Main, getting that cleaned up. And there's been some breaks and stuff out at the sewer plant. So those repairs are underway. They were able to find a used pump for the grit removal system, which helps clear out some stuff before it makes it into the bio ponds and stuff. So they're getting that hooked up the end of last week. They were getting that hooked up. So that'll help with getting into compliance with everything. It makes things a little bit easier for the biology to kick off and process all the waste. For the administrator side, meeting with the county managers, everybody's struggling. So, we're not a one-off. It is kind of going around throughout the county. They're doing a whole bunch of interior work on the Royal Theater. They're pouring footers, they're forming footers, they're cutting out old stuff, they're putting in new stuff. They're framing up the first or the second floor. They got some stuff ready for the doors. Everybody has probably seen they got the south building pretty much up, throwing up some roof trusses and stuff throughout the week. They're gonna restart tearing off more of the existing building's roof. But just like everything else, every time they start something, they find something. So it's just gonna be a continuous circle, and hopefully we get to a point where everything just starts to flow properly. I think once we get a lot of the interior work done, and they're gonna get squared away where they can actually start building and stuff like that, it'll start to move better. They got a mock-up chair on display over at the construction office. It looks great. I think things are gonna go. I think it'll end up looking pretty nice. Matching paint to historical paint and different things like that, keeping the whole theme. So that'll be great. Las Mujeres, it's moving. We met with them today. Potentially, fingers crossed, knock on wood. Everything except for the skate park and basketball hoop possibly open middle of August. Everything except for the grass area possibly open middle of August. Possibly tentative. Fingers crossed. And then police won't have to be chasing off kids off that skate park. So we'll see what happens there. We got the chargers activated finally over at the courtyard. So they're working, charging cars right now. And I think that is it. Any questions?
Just a comment regarding Royal Theater. They're only going to use, and people may know this, only use 200 chairs within the building itself, because they're expanding the reception area, expanding the stage. And there was approval, the thought was to refurbish the existing chairs, which is too costly. So the existing chairs were stored and are now, a portion of them are actually out there in the courtyard. And there's some folks here that are working with the capital campaign to see if we could sell those, they could sell those shares. So if anybody asks, they can go to David's office and ask if they had permission to go and look at those chairs. If you look out the window right now, you'll see them stacked, and that's about a third of the chairs. I think there was roughly 300-400 before, at least, of those chairs. So there's only going to be 200, and the contractor mentioned they were only going to need 20 of the old chairs to go in different places. So we've reached out to the Historical Society and other individuals to see if that, they could use those for historical purposes. What's that? You need to? Yeah. Okay. Go check them out. Okay. Oh, do you? Okay. All right. How much did you pay for them? Free. Okay. The previews for the museum. Good. All right. Any questions of David?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
For Las Mujeres, is there going to be an event for the opening of the park?
Yeah, so we're kind of bouncing ideas off to kind of figure out, because so what's going to happen is the park's going to open or construction is going to be complete, right? And then we have a 90-day maintenance period where we don't want people on the grass playing with plants, anything like that, because it's all in the contract that it gets replaced. So we want to give it the chance to grow and, get happy before we start letting people on it. So we're kind of trying to bounce around, like, do we do kind of like a soft opening, kind of like, hey, skate park's open, come have fun? Or do we wait and do the whole thing all at once? We are going to have temporary fencing around all the grassed area. So, probably the next council meeting at the end of the month, I'll have a more definitive date on when construction would possibly be complete. So then at that point, I would bring it to you guys to see what your recommendations would be as far as wait, do it, however you guys want to do it.
Will the Recreation and Park Commission get a weigh in as well?
Yeah.
No further questions, then we'll go to item 8. Can you read that? Okay.
A, Director of Public Safety Report for July 14, 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, staff, citizens. Apologize for no written report. It's been kind of busy. So things been kind of changing. I'll go down and hopefully we can catch up on this. As far as with code compliance, been working with Bill and Pat. We form a pretty good team. I'm going to miss him. Specifically on a long-term problem that we've been having as far as a business. We've finally reached out with health department. So we're going to have a meeting to be able to now move forward to help this business come into compliance. And Bill has the information, but we'll be meeting with the business and just putting that information out that we're all working towards helping this business owner to become compliant. And so I think that's the most information we'd like to put on there. I completed a program for the senior center. I guess they were looking at getting grant money to be able to hire seniors to work, and submitted a senior patrol program where it'll be seniors helping seniors. So wrote that up. It's been submitted and they seem to like it. So I'm just kind of waiting to hear back if they're going to fund that. And we'll be able to hire some seniors to be able to go out and help other seniors. Spent the last couple of weeks kind of going door to door with businesses on the Guadalupe corridor. Been talking about as far as parking and Caltrans and other issues. It's been very productive. And Judy, she's right. They've asked also too about how ways to make business easier. So I'm going to continue talking with them and seeing ways that we can make almost like a one-stop shop here, and they understand the process a lot better. Working with human resources right now to finish up in our process to hire a captain so we can get back to full staffing in our fire department. The Boys and Girls Club has reached out to us to help them to formulate emergency preparedness plans. So I've kind of taken that on. They sent the paperwork I have to review and to rewrite some things and then kind of schedule them for some training. Kind of left fireworks at the last end. We were lucky enough to get snowy plover cut. I think that for our attorney, our city attorney, that was taken care of. I think about either a couple of days or a week before that. And a lot of people have been asking for the numbers. These we're still working on that because I have all the police reports. I still have to read every report, approve it, and to make sure that we have all the elements of the crime so that we can send this either to a hearing or some other type of adjudication with the residents. So right now we had 27 responses to fireworks and we issued 18 citations. We at first thought we were getting off scot-free on July 3rd because it was quiet. And we thought this is going to be a great day. And then July 4th came around and we had to eat those words. I'm sure residents heard everything. I did also. So that was most of our citations, but we had the drone up, we have the videotape. So I'm trying to coordinate everything right there so that we can eventually take this to hearings after I get through reviewing everything. Pretty much that's my report, unless there's any questions.
Any questions, Chief? Good. Thank you, Chief. Well, now we're at the public hearing. It's quite a bit of reading. Judy, will you go ahead and read that, please?
Introduce ordinance number 2026-530, amending Title 18, zoning ordinance of the Guadalupe Municipal Code, including amendments to Chapter 18.32, R-3, High Density, Residential Zoning District, Chapter 18.52, Design and Development Standards, Chapter 18.60, Off-Street Parking, and Chapter 18.64, Landscape Standards. The written report is by Bill Scott, Associate Planner. The recommendations that the City Council, A, receive a presentation from staff, and B, conduct a public hearing, and 1, approve a notice of exemption from CEQA for ordinance number 2026-530, and 2, introduce by title only and waive the first reading of ordinance number 2026-530, amending Chapter 18.32, Chapter 18.52, Chapter 18.60, and Chapter 18.64, the Title 18 of the Municipal Code, and C, continue ordinance number 2026-530 to the July 28, 2026 City Council meeting for second reading and adoption.
Thank you, Judy. Bill, you're on.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Good evening. Good evening to you and staff and the members of the public. This is proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance, a few zoning text amendments. Next slide, please. And so what's proposed are 5 amendments to the zoning ordinance. The city's zoning ordinance was adopted in 1980, and therefore occasionally it needs maintenance or updates. The 5 amendments, and the most are minor, at least in length, but they are proposed to reflect current land use conditions and zoning practices. Next slide, please. So the first one, revision number 1, would amend the list of conditional uses in the R3 zone. It would just simply allow parking lots in the R3 zone with a conditional use permit. Currently, that code section of the zoning ordinance prohibits parking lots in the R3 high density residential zoning district. However, there are areas where parking lots we think may be appropriate. So the revision would allow public and private parking lots on R3 zone properties, but only in the central business district as identified by the general plan. So the CBD, the central business district, encompasses an area around downtown. And again, any such parking lot would have to have a conditional use permit approval by the city. Next slide, please. So again, all we're doing right now currently in the R3 zone, parking lots are not allowed. This amendment with a conditional use permit would allow parking lots. Again, R3 zoning, the preferred use is always going to be high density housing, but options and alternatives aren't a bad thing. So this was an area we had in mind, south side of Ninth Street, east of Olivera. Obviously, there's a car wash on the corner, but there are several vacant lots. Again, top priority would be high density housing, but there is a need for parking in and around downtown. So this text amendment would allow that potential if the need arose. Down at the bottom, there is a proposal for a parking lot, and this would facilitate that parking lot. We don't know if it'll move forward, but it would open that up. So again, it just provides for another option, another alternative. Next slide, please. Next, chapter 1852, revisions 2 and 3. Again, minor, but maybe with a little impact. The first one, building height, would amend code section 1852-20. Just simply would allow three floor levels in new residential buildings. That was something that was recommended by the housing element. Very incrementally, if you allow 3 floors, you just get more living area within the same building envelope. So again, the housing element recommended that, so we just brought it forward. And actually, there is a proposal over in Guadalupe for a 3-story building that could not be approved unless there's a 3-story house that couldn't be approved without this amendment. Again, currently, only 2 stories or 2 floors are allowed. So this would just give a little bit more flexibility. The next one, projections in the yards, another pretty simple one. Occasionally we get requests for parking lot. We get a request for covered porches. We talk about setbacks all the time. In the R1 zone, there's a 20-foot front yard setback. If the house is at that front yard setback, folks come in and say, I want a covered front porch. Can't do it without currently the ordinance does allow 2-foot projections like a roof overhang. So you can have a 2-foot projection. We just expand that for covered porches to 4 feet, which would accommodate a porch if somebody requested. Obviously, a porch requires zoning clearance approval by the planning department. So we review aesthetics, make sure it ties to the main house. But again, that would just respond to some requests we've had at the counter. Next slide, please. Revision number 4, amendments to the front yard parking and paving ordinance. Currently, the ordinance states parking a vehicle or vehicles on any unpaved portion of a front yard or side yard setback is prohibited. And throughout that ordinance, it talks about front yard setbacks. There got to be a little confusion because they could be redundant in that a front yard setback and a front yard are not necessarily the same thing. So when we start interpreting, and the reason this is pretty important, a lot of people use this ordinance. Obviously, the public comes in and uses it, but the fire department enforces, code enforcement enforces, and planning approves. So we just all wanted to be on the same page. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But again, the ordinance requires in residential front yards, it permits a maximum 63% paving and a minimum 35% landscape. You can't pave over the whole front yard in theory. Again, routinely enforced by code enforcement in the fire department. And again, it requires a planning approval for a front yard paving and parking. Next slide, please. Again, the ordinance was added in 2008 and was last brought to the city council for update in 2019. Again, it supports neighborhood appearance, aesthetics, and protects emergency access ways. That's one of the primary interests by the fire department is maintaining emergency access. Clearly, more requests for front yard parking have been come in due to ADUs and a general increase in residential population per household. So we've been getting more and more requests because people simply want to add more parking in their front yard. So it's gotten to be more of a challenge. Next slide, please. So the revision eliminates the term, as we talked about, setback, and just replaces it with yard, which we think is simpler. For the planning zoning clearance approvals, it replaces shall only in one place. There's still the shall, but it adds should in another place, and there's a reason for that. It gives the planner a little bit more flexibility. It's not as rigid. So the planner within parameters can look at each case on a case-by-case basis and make things work. We do that in coordination typically with the fire department. It also makes a distinction between parking and storage in our discussions with fire department. And I would say that we intend, fire department is in charge of enforcement, planning is in charge of approval, but I don't think we don't enforce this stringently. There's kind of a balance. So we work with our residents, but there is a lot of storage that goes on, and it just gives the fire department another tool to assess. And we can talk about that a little bit more in a minute. So again, the revision should address the fire department's concerns by requiring one side yard to remain open and unobstructed. Next slide, please. So just a couple examples. So the way the zoning ordinance, and again, I apologize, I'm getting in the weeds for just a minute, but we'll be brief. The zoning ordinance currently defines the front yard setback, and that's what the code says. We're looking at a front yard setback, but a front yard setback for the zoning ordinance is the area that extends the entire width of the front yard. And by the zoning, it's 20 feet deep. So that where that number one is, based on the current definition, that area is left out. So again, in discussions with staff, everybody interprets it that we should include that area where the one is. So if we went by the definition front yard setback, that area is not evaluated. Next slide, please. So again, that's the only difference. The front yard, for the purposes of implementing this code, would be the entire width of the lot, but it would also go to the face of the building instead of the setback. So there is a difference there. Also, they define side yard the same kind of way. The side yard by the zoning ordinance definition is a 5-foot width, but if there's a notch there, how do you evaluate it? So this code would address that little notch. And I think, again, it would be more consistent for all of those who evaluate it. Next slide, please. And then there's a preference in talking with fire department and planning. Again, planning primarily looks at aesthetics, and fire department and the enforcers look at both aesthetics and safety. We have a preference, and this is the preference. We would prefer, as a first preference, just widen the driveway. Somebody comes in, they need more front yard parking. Let's just widen the driveway and not kind of go all over the entirety of the front yard. Doesn't work in every case. That's why we say preferred as opposed to required. Because again, each lot is different. Each one is unique. But those are the preferred places for front yard paving, widening, and parking. But it's also the preferred location for recreational vehicles that we get requests for on occasion. So we prefer to have a recreational vehicle if it's stored on the property or kept on the property or parked in that area on the sides of the driveway. Next slide, please. And then just a couple examples. Again, preferred, we widen the driveway, it looks something like that. That's a preference. But again, there's just so many scenarios, it doesn't always work that way. So we have to be flexible enough to look at every scenario. Next slide, please. That's what's not preferred, is to pave over the entire driveway. And what's also not preferred, we did have some discussions, lengthy discussions on the how the RVs are arranged. We don't want them, if we can help it, parallel to the street. Would rather, again, have them in the driveway. There was a complaint on that. So again, that's what's not preferred, and that's what we try to avoid, those kind of scenarios. Next slide, please. Again, just front yard parking, that's just another circumstance. And again, there's so many instances of front yard parking and paving. I would not speak to which ones are permitted, which ones are not permitted, and which ones may have been permitted under a different evaluator. That wouldn't be my preference to have a vehicle parked that way, but if it was approved, it's legal. So just another example. Next slide, please. That one just came in recently. They came in, they paved the entirety of the front yard as it would appear. The code enforcers sent them into planning. We work with the owner to get resolution, but that's just another example of just the various scenarios that come in. Next slide, please. Just another scenario. They were sent into planning and building, parking in the front. The placement of the RVs, that's the preferred placement of the RVs. the placement of the trucks not preferred. What they did come in for is they want paving on that side. Again, that just goes to the point that there's so many scenarios, it's hard to address them all. Will we approve a little strip? What they want is just a little strip for the tires to put paving to park there. That's undetermined. We'll coordinate with the fire department staff and see. But again, the code says 33, I apologize, 33% landscaping. Technically, that would meet the 33%. So again, there's some judgment in there. That's the point of this ordinance revision. You just have to have some judgment. So again, that's just another example of another scenario. Next slide, please. And again, I call it personally, I call it sentimental junk. My cousin, my uncle passed away. He had a El Camino pickup, you know, the half car, half pickup. My cousin still has that 20 years later. Absolutely no use. It's rusted out, but she keeps it. It's sentimental. And so people do have sentimental, which appears to be junk to me. The ordinance addresses it by softly saying storage is not allowed, but it's up to the fire department on how and when they enforce it. So it's not permitted, that kind of storage. But what they typically do is kind of a compromise. They say cover it and we move on. So again, there's just a lot of different scenarios, and we try to address them with a little bit of flexibility as opposed to having our ordinance so rigid. It's either yes, no, or whatever. So those are just a few of the scenarios that we see out there. Next slide, please. So that's front yard parking and paving. Revision number 5 is chapter 1864. Oh, I apologize. One thing on front yard parking and paving real quickly. We did have one change we wanted to make, and I almost forgot. And it was simply, I think I'll just, even though it's one sentence, just for the record. Fire department, planning was considering allowing temporary storage of recreational vehicles, RVs, just to give enough time to load and unload. After further discussions, we decided to delete that. So that one line permitting temporary parking of an RV just to unload and unload for 24 hours is just scratched. Simple as that. And so that would, for the moment, complete the front yard parking and pavement. And the last, number 5, the final one, was just the revisions to the landscape ordinance. Again, the landscape ordinance last revised in its entirety 1980. And there's a lot that's happened over the years. So some of the revisions, one would recognize state adopted water efficient landscape standards. Another would implement some of the general plan goals that were in the general plan. One said that when you have new development, that if you have to remove trees, you should replace those trees when there's a design review permit or a planning permit. Another change would recognize the urban forest management plan for tree plantings. Another one would increase the required tree planting size. Currently, it says a 5-gallon tree is required. That's way out of date. Should be 15-gallon to 24-inch box. 15-gallon to 24-inch box is a little bit, 24-inch box is the preferred, but 15-gallon under certain circumstances we could consider. So just bigger tree plantings would be required. The ordinance promotes more common open space. There's a percentage of the requirements. There's a percentage that should be tree plantings, and about 75% may be ground cover shrubs. We just added to that you could have, say, paving to create more outdoor space that's usable. Sometimes they do such a great job that we have a lot of landscaping that's just decorative landscaping. You can look at it but you can't use it. We'd just as soon have more usable landscaping. So that change would allow for a more functional, usable landscape or open space as opposed to just shrubs. And the last one clarifies the landscape plan review procedures. That's one place that the ordinance is pretty out of date in terms of who does what and how it's processed. So those would be the changes to the landscape ordinance. And all of these are provided obviously as attachments to the ordinance itself. And they're highlighted in red. Excuse me. Next slide, please. So in summary, changes to the R3 parking would promote the parking objectives of the downtown CBD. Front yard porch projection just gives an option to homeowners. Residential building height incrementally increases living area within new buildings. Front yard parking adds further clarity for city departments and promotes neighborhood stability, safety, and enhanced property values. And landscape just reflects current landscape standards, practice, and procedures. Next slide, please. So again, once again, the zoning ordinance is our primary tool to implement the general plan, state land use law, and city policy. It was originally adopted in 1980. Revisions to the zoning code are necessary to reflect current standards, current practices, and procedures. Thus, the five revisions are presented simply as part of the continued maintenance of the zoning ordinance. Next slide, please. And with that, we conclude. The project's been found exempt from CEQA under a general exemption, and we're available for questions, if any. Thank you.
Any questions so far of Bill? Jean, Amelia? Sure, please.
Bill, on page 2 of your staff report, and you kind of addressed this, that these changes are recommend going forward. And that but you have noted that, what did you say? It's noted that there are observable cases in which the paving ordinance appears to have been violated. So this doesn't address any of that. If they were violated, were they addressed or just?
They don't meet the, I'm sorry, did you have more? I apologize.
Yeah,
I don't
let
mean
me
to get
just
ahead of myself, but
let me complete the sentence
yeah.
or the question. When I read this, it's clear that this is going forward. I understand that. But if it's been noted that there have been violations, were those violations addressed, I guess?
And maybe violation may not be the word, exact word. I probably should have said, don't comply to current standard, because it's too hard to tell if they're violations. We'd have to go through a lot of permits. And then there's history. If the ordinance was, from the time the ordinance was derived, was the paving installed before the ordinance? So it could be legal nonconforming or grandfather. So there's just so many cases. We don't know for sure. The point I was trying to make is we have no intent, unless code compliance does, in going backwards. We're just, the purpose of this ordinance is to move forward. That's all. So it just addresses how we address these things moving forward,
Okay.
not backwards.
Yeah, thanks.
Any further questions, Bill, from the council? So at, what is it, 6:55 or 6:57? We'll open it up to public for public comments. I have one individual who wishes to speak, Mrs. Francis Romero.
Well, good evening, Mayor Julian, council, members of the staff and public, Francis Romero back again. It sounds like, and I don't know, I didn't have the benefit of seeing the revision that Bill handed out. It sounded like item G, with the added language of recreational vehicles may be parked in the front yard for up to 24 hours for loading and unloading purposes only, has been stricken. Is that correct? Okay, and I'm glad to hear that, because I'm not a renter. I own my home. I have a zoning clearance, maybe one of the only ones that have been issued to store my RV on the side of the house. Needless to say, that ordinance came about through a complaint while I was mayor, and I'm very familiar with the ordinance and the rules for storing our RV behind a fence. However, we also maintain the vehicles that we own. We don't have any junk on our lot. So if we choose to park our brand new RV on our driveway and wash it, wax it, maintain it, and we choose to do so over a weekend, that is our right as an American and as a property owner to do that. We also have a right, based on state law, to park in front of our house with any of our vehicles at any time for up to 72 hours. So I just am glad to hear that there is some flexibility, as Bill was stating, and that that was reconsidered because that seemed onerous and quite overreaching. And given the fact that there are so many other things that have to do with actual public safety issues in this community, I would just think that time and energy would be better spent on those instead of some of the crazy things that we have received notifications on, like my hedge being a couple inches too high, when there are other hedges that are a couple feet too high. I try not to take it personal. I do laugh a lot. And I just hope that the things that we do are really truly aimed at improving the community and that they are of a quality that actually matters. I mean, some of the stuff seems a little petty at times. So just hoping.
Thank you. Any further comments out there from the public? I think did we have something in writing? I'm not sure. That was Francis. Okay. All right, at 7 o'clock, we'll close the public hearing. What's the wishes of the council? As per item B, we conducted the public hearing and we need to approve the notice of exemption from the CEQA for ordinance number 26-530 and introduced it by title only and waive the first reading of ordinance number 2506-530, amending chapters 118-32, chapters 1852, chapters 18.60, and chapter 1864 of the title of 18 of the municipal code, and continue ordinance 2026-530 to July 28th, 2026, city council meeting for the second reading and adoption.
Mr. Mayor, we need to include the change that Bill
Yes, to
pointed
approve
out.
the change. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Want to repeat it?
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Let's have roll call for resolution.
Councilmember Costa Junior,
Aye.
Councilmember Fernez,
Aye.
Councilmember Villegas,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Julian.
Aye, thank you. Thank you, Bill. So we'll go to item 10. Judy, will you please read that?
Written report, Jeff Van Den Eyckhoff, City Engineer, recommendation that the City Council conduct a public hearing to provide all present with the opportunity to speak regarding the assessments for the Pasadena Landscaping and Lighting District and adopt resolution number 2026-39, confirming the engineer's report, assessment diagram, and assessments related thereto for fiscal year 2026-2027.
Thank you, Judy. Jeff.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and community members. You're going to see multiple items tonight. This is our annual assessments. The first assessment we have is for the Pasadena Landscape and Lighting District. Will Dan prepared the engineering report for this item, and the recommendation is that the city council conduct a public hearing, and after the public hearing that we confirm the engineer's report, the assessment diagram, and the assessments related to the fiscal year 26-27 for Pasadena Landscape and Lighting District.
Any questions of Jeff before it's open to the public hearing? At 7:04, that's open to the public on this particular item. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on that item? Hearing, seeing no hands, so we'll close the public hearing at 7:05 or thereabouts. What's the recommendation of the council?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-39.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Costa Junior,
Aye.
Councilmember Fernez,
Aye.
Councilmember Villegas,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Julian.
Aye, the resolution passes. Next item is Guadalupe Benefit Assessment District.
Written report,
Please. Okay, thank you.
Jeff Van Eyck, City Engineer, recommendation that the City Council conduct a public hearing to provide all present with an opportunity to speak regarding the assessments for the Guadalupe Benefit Assessment District Number 1 and adopt resolution number 2026-40, setting the proposed assessments for fiscal year 2026-2027.
This includes
Point Sal Dunes.
Point Sal,
and-
which we have
And Rivers.
two members here that live in that area, so we can't vote on it.
Well, Mr. Mayor, it's funny, after you mentioned that, I wanted to make sure of my opinion and I looked into it. It turns out that the law changed in 2020, unbeknownst to me, to clarify that this would be considered an effect that's indistinguishable from the effect it has on the public generally. For example, you all know in the Guadalupe Lighting District, the next item, since the whole city is part of that assessment district, you do not have a conflict of interest as council members, because even though it's a material effect on your finances, it affects everybody equally. So there's a rule that regulation 18703 subsection E1, that the financial effect of a officer's decision-making, if the members resides in an assessment district, that the decision for assessment, tax, fee, or rate change adjustment for water, utility, or other public services, which would include the assessment district here, as long as it applies proportionally or by the same percentage to the official's interest as any other property in the district, it's indistinguishable from the public generally. And I'm sorry I didn't know this, but the law changes all the time, and this is a very esoteric area of the law, and it hasn't come up in my practice for a reason to double check it. So anyway, that's good news, I think, because you don't have to step down.
Okay, good. Jeff, did you want to go into this a little more, or are you ready for a motion? Okay.
No, this is for the benefit district
Right.
number 1 that covers Point Sal Dunes and Riverview subdivisions. It covers landscaping and lighting.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 2026-40?
I make a motion to adopt resolution number 2026-40.
I'm sorry, did I open it to the public?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to do that.
At 7:08, the meeting is open to public, for a public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on this item? At 7:08 and a half or 7:09, it's closed to public. Now, is there a motion to adopt resolution 2026-40?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 2026-40.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Costa Junior,
Aye.
Councilmember Fernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Villegas,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Julian.
Aye, resolution passes. So we'll go to item 12, Guadalupe Lighting District. Jeff.
So this is our final assessment district within the city. And as the city attorney mentioned, this covers the entirety of the property owners within the city. And it provides for the lighting within the downtown area. And so it's it's assessed based on the type of use of the project or the property, whether or not it's multifamily, single family, or commercial. And so there are some different rates for the various different properties, but the rates still remain less than they were in 2015 and 16. And that's mostly because of LED upgrades.
Thank you. So at 7:09, open it up to public hearing. Is there anyone out there that wishes to speak on this item? See no hands at 7:10. We'll close it to public hearing. Is there a motion to adopt resolution 2026-41?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2026-41.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Costa Junior,
Aye.
Councilmember Fernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Villegas,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Julian.
Aye, that resolution passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Enjoy your hot country up there north of the grade. Okay, we're going to item 13, consideration of street name change for Calle Cesar Chavez. Judy, will you read
Written
the?
report, Bill
Yes, please.
Scott, Associate Planner. Recommendation that the city council, A, receive a presentation from staff, B, receive any comments from the public, and 1, consider whether a street name change would be appropriate. 2, if appropriate, consider potential replacement names. And 3, provide staff with direction to begin the citywide notification and public hearing process. Or C, provide staff with direction to begin the citywide notification and public hearing process without a replacement street name. Or D, continue the item to allow time to further consider the implications of the street name change. Or E, conclude the street remaining process for the present time with the option for possible reconsideration at later date.
Let's start off with the council. Is there any thought about this in terms of where we're, as was noted here in these options?
Is that, I would love to hear from staff in regards to what the community said. I know there was like a,
Well, there is, but I want to know, I want any information from the council first.
not a top there.
Okay. Nothing? No, do you want to, do you have any thoughts? Okay, please. We like thoughts. Good, thank you.
My thought to before we get a presentation or anything is when we had discussed this, it's been a couple months ago, we had a lot of community members come in discussing the administrative costs that they would be incurring. And I think the state of the economy and of our people, I don't think it's beneficial for our community to change it at this time. I again don't condone anything that that person has done, but most importantly, I care about our citizens. So I just wouldn't be moving it. I wouldn't be renaming it at this time, in my opinion.
Please. Okay.
Similar to what Wendy is saying, Whitney, excuse me, I always call you Wendy, Whitney. It's a W, it's a W. My initial thought, again, going backwards several meetings, was to look at the change and without having another name to go to, but just make a change. And I also heard the residents' concerns, and I had to put myself in their place as well. If my my street was changed to whatever name, what would I have to do? And I have a lot of documents and a lot of different things that I would have to make changes to, and that would take my time as well as impact my finances. So I have to back up a little bit from my knee-jerk reaction to say these allegations are horrible, for lack of a better word, but there's a bigger picture that we need to look at. Also, I'm a retired HR person, and these are allegations. The individual is not here to defend himself, so they remain allegations. So I don't know if we can act as dramatically as we thought we might want it to, based on allegations only.
Any further comments, Jen? Yeah.
I would just like to piggyback off of Councilwoman Villegas and Councilwoman Finesse. But like I said a few months ago, right now we're not in a financial state to do something like this, but even with that, doing a name change, where's better things for us to utilize monies if we had it than to change the name of a street because someone made allegations in regards to an individual. So I wish there was a letter F on here that would have been just to leave it and move on and not bring it up ever again and go forward. But I'm with doing E, including it for now. And if future council wants to change it, then that's up to their discretion.
Christina, any comments? You want to hear from Bill? You don't? Okay, okay.
I just wanted to hear from the community. He reached
Sure.
out to the residents and I just want to hear that feedback because they're not in the room here. So I think it's important those voices are uplifted, even if they're not able to attend.
Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to address this? I'm sorry. Let me look at it. You're right, Robert. Sorry about that. Okay, thank you. First mistake this year.
Howdy, y'all. My name is Robert Diaz. I'm a resident here at Guadalupe. I live over in the Pasadena newer spots. Regarding this item number 13, just to keep it kind of short and sweet, I'm in support of actually changing the name. However, I do in agreement of everyone else, probably everyone in this room, maybe most people in town. The money ain't there. If the money ain't there, let's not worry about it right now. We should really consider the change name. I mean, if we're looking at places like Fresno, San Fernando, LA, Salinas, Modesto, all places in which this gentleman's work really had very good and positive impacts over the workers year round, are willing to strip his name off streets, memorials, buildings, everything like that. It's something we should consider here, even if now's not the time. Regarding allegations, things like that, that's all well and good. These are the more recent ones. There's worse ones and different ones way prior to that regarding violence and brutal behavior by this man against the workers that he had one time supposedly wanted to protect. And this is a lot around the immigrant workers. A lot of the issues we are dealing with now were, he was on the negative side at a certain point, and we can't forget that. We also got to remember that the whole workers movement is not just one man. It's everybody that's been involved. We have Dolores Huerta, if we want to honor people that are really still alive here and continuing in a lot of different avenues. I've had the honor of actually sitting at a table with her multiple times over the years in my work, working for rape crisis and domestic violence centers. And to know that, she's a genuine, honest woman who has a best interest in heart. It's not unlikely for a woman of advanced age to report sexual assault. It's actually very common. And in my experience working in rape crisis centers, I work with numerous individuals of advanced age who had only for the very first time disclosed their experiences. So again, when it comes to that, the social side, obviously there's an issue there, but at the same time, for the fiscal piece here locally in town, that's what we need to consider now. That's what we need to consider first, because if we're wasting money on something that we can't use later down the line, what does it matter what that street's named? There's not too many people out there complaining, to be honest with you. There's not too many comments, and there's not a lot of people that have been here over the past few months. It's something that maybe we revisit later, maybe we revisit after Royal Theater is all done. And, we get that piece all taken care of. There's a lot better time. Just now's not it. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Jeannie.
I'm not going to repeat what I said, but
Why not?
yeah, why not? It isn't just what he was just saying about the woman and I know all about rape, been there, done that. And it's also the people that live on that street and all of the things that they would have to change. That's just monumental, and it's so costly, and it's just, you got to really take that into consideration. And like I said, the man is dead, let sleeping dogs lie.
Thank you, Jeannie. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, please.
We also had a public comment from Shirley Boydston that I'll read. To the mayor and council members, I strongly support option E, conclude street naming for present time with option to possible recommendation at a later date. The costs to the city are not warranted now with the budget deficit, and the cost to the many residents who would be impacted by having to change resident addresses is too involved and costly. The name was once held in good faith. Let it stay that way. Shirley Boydston.
Okay. Anybody else want to comment on this item before?
Was there any public information from Bill that you were asking about, Christina?
It's written.
Yeah. Oh, did you just want it?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure the Riverview residents and the residents also had the opportunity to submit. I seen there was maybe 54 comments submitted. So I was wondering if there's anything additional they shared. I didn't see like the incoming notifications or the forms. Maybe they added something. Just wanted to make sure that I uplifted those comments.
Mayor and council, I'd be glad to just summarize that one item, that one part about the flyers that we sent out, and that's in late May, staff sent out 100 notifications / questionnaires. They were both notifications and questionnaires in the same form. They were in a format that could be passed around and handed out. Of the 100, and as we talked about, there's about 80 directly affected residents and homeowners, and the rest, we did do some notifications to the neighboring street as well. But of that 100, only 24 were returned, 19 or 82% expressed opposition, and 5 or 18% were in support. So the vast majority were opposed to a street name change. And a few did recommend some other names or alternative names, but the majority were opposed. So that would summarize it.
Awesome, thank you. Due to budget constraints, I would also agree that this is not the proper time, but I do stand with women. And when women stand up and say that, you know, there's something against them, I will always stand with them. July 6, 2023, here in Guadalupe, you know, unfortunately, we found Leva, who was murdered. And she, you know, just want to mention, you know, we have had instances here. Domestic violence is on the rise. And so I don't condone violence against women. And I just want to move forward with not changing this name at the moment. But I would, in the future, if the budget ever is healthy, I would be more than happy to look at that.
Yeah, I agree with Eve, but if a change were to come, I would recommend Camino de los Huerta. But it sounds like consensus going with item E or letter E. We're good with that?
Yeah.
Need a motion or no? Yes. Okay.
Bill, in the staff report, it says, let's see, in the city of Santa Maria, they recently chose to remove the name from a neighborhood street. Where is that located? That street in Santa Maria, whereabouts is it?
Councilmember Villegas, Cesar Chavez Drive in Santa Maria is in the northwest part of town near, there's a junior high school, far northwest part of town, new part of town. Yep.
Say it again?
You got, yes.
Okay, thanks. I just want to know.
The motion needed?
Well, since you haven't taken any specific action, technically no, but I still think it's a good idea just to clarify for the record that you're asking it to be basically postponed at this time, but brought back in the future possibly.
Is there a motion to that effect?
A motion to conclude the renaming process for the present time with the option of a possible consideration at a later time.
I will second.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All ayes. Thank you, Bill. Item 14, consideration of a special event permit for the 2026 Guadalupe Green Festival at Jack O'Connell Park. Judy.
Written report, David Trujillo, City Administrator. Recommendation that the City Council, A, receive a presentation from staff, and B, approve the Guadalupe Greens Festival Special Event Permit for September 19, 2026, subject to all conditions imposed by the city, including final approval of required permits, security plans, insurance, traffic management, emergency services coordination, and execution of an agreement with the event organizer, and C, authorize the city administrator to execute all necessary agreements and approve minor administrative modifications consistent with council direction.
Thank you, Judy. David.
Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, and community members. So this is part 2 of this, trying to get this event passed through. Originally, this event, Austin presented an amazing slide deck that outlined a 2-day festival that included a concert venue, vendors, a cannabis portion, a beer garden, various other activities, a holistic center. So hitting the drawing board again, he came back with version 2.0, which is a 1-day event, minus cannabis, still a concert venue. It would be held on a Saturday. The amount of attendees has been cut in half per estimation. But the headliners are still potentially there. So without further ado, I have Austin here who is ready to go to slide deck version 2.0.
Yeah, please. Hey, Austin.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, staff. You haven't met, I'm Austin Canella with Route One Dispensary and Route One Presents, a local company. And you've kind of seen a version of this before, but tonight I'm not here to repitch that event. I'm here to show you what we've changed after listening to you and to make the case that Guadalupe Greens is now first and foremost a benefit for the Royal Theater. Next slide. Let me start with what's different because almost everything is. When we were here last, this was a 2-day festival for up to 10,000 people a day with a cannabis component. And we heard your concerns on that. So we're here now with a 1-day 5,000 person event with no cannabis at all. That's completely removed. And instead of a commercial scale festival to benefit the city, it is now a fundraiser for the Royal Theater that would cost the city nothing, but the same great community event, smaller, simpler, and built around your priorities. Next slide. The venue would be the same. Next one, Jack O'Connell Park, which is a natural fit, flat, open, existing restrooms, infrastructure, set back from most of the neighborhoods in town, with all traffic being absorbed by the West Main Street and Highway 1 corridor. Go to the next slide, you'll see a new layout, site plan version 3.1. This is drawn to scale over an aerial of the actual park. You'll see one main stage that's kind of angled away from the community there. So the sound is directed out towards the dunes. There's a lowrider and classic car show, local food corridor, a craft market, kids and family zone, a wellness area, and that's all would be inside of fenced perimeter. And to be respectful of recent investment of money and time, we are not going to be using the newly restored ball field this year. Next slide. The day itself is a celebration of Guadalupe's culture, cultural and local performers, mariachi, Latino music, a car show, local food, and large headlining act as well. With Guadalupe vendors being prioritized, it would be an all ages and family first event with alcohol-free kids zone, and it would be on Saturday, September 19th. Next slide. Our production partner, we would be producing this with Good Vibes Present. They're a very experienced regional festival team working hand in hand with our security and medical partners. You know, they have a lot of experience producing local shows and festivals in Avila and across the state as well. Next slide. Safety, we would, one more slide. So the alcohol, we would be serving alcohol, but it would, let me be clear about how it works because it is tightly regulated, and importantly, it's regulated by the state and not just the city. So it would be served under a California ABC daily event license. It would be a separate state approval required with its own application, its own conditions, and its own enforcement issued for this specific event, date, and footprint. So it would sit on top of this city permit once it's issued and not in place of it. And under that, every guest is ID checked and wristbanded before they can buy or hold a drink. 21 and over only, obviously, and all the servers would be responsible beverage service trained. So no one would get served who's underage or overserved. The kids and family zone would be entirely alcohol free. It would be sectioned off and monitored. And service would end before curfew. So no alcohol, outside alcohol would come in. In short, this would be a normal, well-run, state licensed beer and wine operation like you'd see at any community festival. with the state's rules layered on top of the city's. Next slide. The rest of the safety plan is professional and layered. Security would be Miller Event Management, a licensed California patrol operator, and medical and harm reduction would be provided by the Guardian team out of Santa Barbara with an on-site ambulance. We would fully coordinate with the Guadalupe Police Department. The site would be completely fenced, and our security director would have a direct radio line to the Guadalupe Police Department throughout. Next slide. I'll go into the parking, kind of have a little map here. Everything would stay at the edge of town. Public parking would be at West Main and Highway 1, with some parking on street overflow parking on the streets surrounding that. We would run a free shuttle, plus try to coordinate with Amtrak. At 5,000 guests, we're looking at roughly 1,400 vehicles, which most of which would fit in that parking lot there. Now, if you go to the next slide, it's kind of the heart of it. And the reason we kind of rework this is the funding for the Royal Theater. So if you go into the next slide, the Royal Theater is the city's flagship project. You guys have already secured about $10.5 million for doing it, but we're still a little bit short. And we know that gap is real. And so we've built Guadalupe Greens to try to help close that. So we'd be committing $5 from every paid ticket to the Royal Theater with a guaranteed $20,000 floor, meaning that the Royal gets the money even if the turnout is soft. At our expected attendance, that's about $30,000. And if you allow us a little room to grow, it could go up to $35,000 from a single day. Every dollar is paid directly to the capital campaign, verified and documented, and it would cost the city nothing. Go under the community benefit. On top of the per money ticket, the food vendor share would normally go to nonprofits, is what we proposed in our last proposal, but this time it would also go to the Royal Theater, so that would be another $5,000 to $8,000. But we'd add local jobs and have a priority for local Guadalupe restaurants and vendors, and try to keep as many of those dollars right here in town. So if you go to the next slide, there's really a ripple effect when you do an event like this. Visitors are filling up gas, they're eating at local restaurants, they're riding the surf liner in, and really, something like this is going to help put Guadalupe on the Central Coast map with room to grow year over year is our goal. If you go to the next slide, I just want to summarize that this is genuinely zero risk to the city. All city costs, police, fire, staff would be billed at cost to us. The Royal Theater benefit is guaranteed and documented. We would carry full insurance, naming the city as additionally insured. And you would be able to audit our ticketing platform, and the city would have no cost, no exposure. Go to the final slide here. So what we're asking tonight is that you support our move forward, and hopefully we can do it tonight. To be honest about the timing, it's getting a little late, but I think we can pull it off. It's a Hail Mary. So if we can do it tonight, I think we can get it done this year. But we're ready to continue working with staff on any conditions or issues that arise. And if you go to the last slide here, just let's build something that Guadalupe is proud of, a smaller, safer one-day festival at zero cost to the city that puts our culture on stage and helps finish the Royal Theater. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? Please.
Austin, the last time you presented this, I had a concern that it was cannabis related, and you're saying it's been removed. How can you guarantee that individuals who gained entrance there don't have any cannabis, don't smoke it there, or anything all like that? What you've talked about security guards and all of that, but how can you guarantee that?
I mean, that's not something we can necessarily guarantee, but what we've removed is the licensed on-site consumption areas, the licensed on-site sales area. And there will be security at the entrance, checking people's bags, etc. But cannabis is legal in the state, and it's hard to eliminate people from carrying a legal product. But it won't be encouraged, it won't be outright sold, and there won't be a open consumption area for it, essentially. But
In line with that, just one other question. I understand it's legal, of course.
Mm-hmm.
If an individual is seen smoking
mm-hmm.
at this, assuming this festival is approved, is smoking on the grounds, what action is to be taken?
So they would be notified not to smoke by security, and if it was a, you know, a continued power alarm, that person would be removed. So it's kind of the standard policy at local concerts for that, you know, if you're caught smoking, they tell you to put it out, and, you know, if that happens again, they're gonna remove you.
One last question. The kids area, you mentioned that it's separate, and I see from the diagram. Will there be security surrounding?
So there's kind of the way we have it sectioned off is there's one entrance point and whatnot. So there'd be 2 security guards posted there to make sure that no alcohol entered into the children's area there.
Is there an age limit that one has to have a parent or guardian to get in there?
Yeah, you would have to have a parent or guardian, you know, with you, you know, and then, you know, they could be put in there, but the parents will be able to stand on the outside and see them in there. It's going to be a low, you know, 4-foot fence around it.
This question is for Chief, I guess, if I can, just to follow up on that question, Austin's question. I go to the Paso Fair quite often, and I know that they do a search, and if you have a cannabis pen, they won't allow it. I understand that it's allowed, but legally, can you take it into a park and smoke? Chief?
No, and if we had those kind of complaints, we would take the appropriate action.
Okay. So just to clarify, these items would not be allowed in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Also, the Mid-State Fair also takes nicotine vapes. So the places are getting pretty crazy.
Will there be a traffic management report provided to us?
A traffic management report. Yeah, we have a parking plan and a shuttle plan established, as well as kind of where different traffic guards would be placed to keep traffic out of the neighborhood there. So I can send you more of that if you'd like.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I would like that. And
Yeah.
I would see if we can possibly, you know, if this was to move forward, just have it on the next month's council agenda item, just so that way council can see that traffic management report, what that parking looks like for residents. I spoke to Chief Cash earlier this morning, and we know that there are going to be impacts to the residents, and that way we're aware to, we're able to easily communicate with residents what that looks like the day of.
Questions from the council?
Well, I would say, council members and Mr. Mayor, if you guys elect to move forward with this and we get an active, approved traffic management plan and parking plan and all that stuff, chief approves it and it, you know, gets the blessing, we would put this on the website. We wouldn't even wait until a council meeting. We would start displaying this immediately.
That's my next question, actually.
Yeah, like, I mean, there would be no reason to wait, right?
I would ask if Austin would be open to actually having like an open house at Riverview, because those residents might be locked in. They might not be able to exit. I talked to Chief and I said, Chief, you know, he told me if you want milk, you might be out of luck. You might be a traffic jam. So would you be open to possibly having even an open house for residents at Riverview? Because Riverview, that's their kind of their only exit out, is right by all of these, by the back end of the concert. Yeah. You guys are going to open?
I mean, that makes sense.
We do have an emergency exit, and we would look at that working with Austin and his group if we would manage that. But we'd only use that as a last resort, because we don't want a whole lot of cars impacting the Point Sal at the north end and going through that area. So we would work with Riverview to make sure that residents are very much aware of what's going to happen and look to be able to help them to get out. So we still have some, like Santa Barbara Street also. So it's more than just one way. We'd be able to get people in and out of that area.
Well, we have several requests to speak. Deborah Sykes.
I speak on behalf of myself and quite a few other residents in the city in favor of this event. People from areas around us believe that Guadalupe is full of crime and gangs. We have an opportunity to get the word out that Guadalupe is a great place to visit. An attraction like this event would do wonders for this city. I believe that there would be a good attendance. We don't have enough stuff like this in our small area without having to pay a fortune to get in. The city would greatly benefit the city merchants, the restaurants, and of course, the Royal Theater. The Royal Theater will have a campaign booth there to sell t-shirts and collect donations. The proceeds benefit the Royal Theater, but they also benefit the city of Guadalupe. And I also, as a side, I want to recognize the Comité Cívico Mexicano de Guadalupe for their generous willingness to assist the Royal Theater Capital Campaign with fundraising events. Thank you.
Wait,
Is there time?
yes, sir.
My name is Jesus Ramirez, and I'm with the Capital Campaign, Tom Bradenberry. And we're also here, I'm also here to support this event. And I have spoken, I live in that street right in front of the park, well, in the cul-de-sac. But anyway, it would not bother me one bit. And I have spoken with some of my neighbors regarding this. The only thing they were concerned about, they want to go in free, but because they're cheap. But so I don't see a problem with people in my neighborhood, but I enjoy this stuff. So thank you.
Thank you, Jess. Mr. Robert Diaz.
Howdy, y'all. Robert Diaz again. Yeah, so I'm a citizen here, Guadalupe, and I'm also speaking, as an individual board member of the Guadalupe Community Action Coalition. For those of you that are not aware, we are a fiscal partner of both the city and the Capital Campaign for the volunteers to help bring in funds and kind of do some of those fiscal pieces and manage some of the nonprofit aspects that this program can really, or from the Royal Theater can really benefit from. Regarding the Guadalupe Greens Festival, I think it's a fantastic idea and we really should be supporting it and moving it forward. I want to acknowledge the complete scale back. The second I saw this on the agenda, I went through that, man. It seems so cool. That first edition, all those things that were added to it were awesome and great. However, it was too big for what we had in the city. It would have been a nightmare to do that. I believe even this size of it will be a little bit of a stress test for our small community to really see what it's about. But I think it's sizable enough and I think it's reasonable enough for us to do it, even if it's nothing more than just a test to see what a large event would look like here. We can be bringing in money not only to the Capital Campaign, but to our local merchants. I think it's the coolest thing ever that they're going to prioritize our people first, our businesses first, and able to get in there. And I'm hoping the city can help some of those businesses that don't actually have the right permits to get those, even if temporarily, for that day of, in order for them to, make more money, recoup losses from all this construction going on. We know the businesses here are not being frequently nearly as often as they have been before, because of the construction. And I think it'll be the perfect time when a lot of that clears up for folks to come in and start spending money both locally and with the vendors over at the festival. And that's pretty much it. I'm really hoping that, we can make some good money off of this. It be an annual thing that makes even more money and really support the Royal Theater. I understand there are a lot of community members that are concerned about the progress of the Royal Theater. However, we do have a really solid group of volunteers that are dedicated to the process. And even if in failure, they're going to continue till that day comes, if it comes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, back to anybody else wish to speak on this item? Jeannie.
My only concern is about the liquor being sold. I understand that they're gonna try and control it, and that's great, but we all know about kids that hang outside of liquor stores and talk 21-year-olds into buying them liquor. And I don't see that there's any way to prevent that from happening here, So that would be my only concern, is kids getting a hold of the liquor, because they're very clever. So something to think about.
Thank you. there's a couple other comments in support of and
I think a lot of these in this one were addressed.
okay.
There was a lot of questions regarding smoke-free ordinance,
Right.
marketing, public safety. I have one question though. Can I ask? Chief, how do you feel?
Thank you for asking that. Where's Austin? We've been working on this since day one. Him and I, we kind of put our heads together a long time ago and started talking about this. And I would have never brought it up if I felt it was something that we could not handle as a city. I have done these as a special events coordinator for the San Diego Police Department and the city of San Diego. And we've walked through, we've drove through the city. We went to the different sites. We looked at how traffic could get in. The council person is correct. You know, I'm still going to have concerns about parking. That's going to happen. There's going to be increased traffic. But I said, and I told Austin and others, I wouldn't have put myself really behind this. I didn't think that we could pull this off. So we're going to be there from the start till the finish.
All right, thank you. We have, did you want to say something else, Austin?
I have a question for Austin. I do. I may be a little older. I don't know. What is herbalism?
Herbalism?
Yeah.
So there, that's like different like essential oils would be
Okay.
would fall into that category.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, we have on our table, we need to looking at approving the Guadalupe Greens Festival special event permit for September 19, 2026, subject to all conditions imposed by the city, including final approval of required permits, security plans, insurance, traffic management, emergency services coordination, and execution of an agreement with the event organizer, and authorize the city administrator to execute all necessary agreements and approve minor administrative modifications consistent with council direction. Is there a motion?
I had a question still. Sorry about that.
Is there a motion to approve? You'll be able to
Okay.
answer your question
Yeah.
or ask your question. Go ahead.
Okay, this question was for actually Eli. I know that the financial breakdown, Chief is already working with Austin currently. There's already some expenses. What does that look like for our expenses? Do you have any concerns or something that we should look like? Should he be already, writing down those expenses as we move forward? Yeah, Chief, because I know that this proposal shares that expenses will be covered. So is there anything that we should be thinking as council? Because our budget is constrained. We don't have funding to be, so what does that look like for Chief? Should he be already writing those expenses in?
Well, I think they said they were going to cover it. So,
But I want to hear from Eli, please.
you want to hear from who?
Eli? Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, staff, members of the public. Just a couple thoughts on that. One, I think that's correct. Obviously, if there's any costs being incurred, whether it be from staff time or anything else, that should be actively being tracked. Because to your point, the city should be made whole on every point on this front. The other thought, I think, originally when this came up, one of the first things we thought about is the fee structure for the festival. The city currently doesn't have an existing fee structure for this type of event. So we would have to come up with something that is appropriate for this size of event. Obviously, we could do that working with, David and the folks involved. I think we can do that, but definitely costs that are being incurred in any way, shape, or form should and will be continued tracked to make sure that the city's made whole.
Okay, awesome. I just wanted to make sure that's in place moving forward because as it is, our budget is we're going to be speaking about it and it's not looking too good.
Back to my, I mentioned B and C. Is there approval of those two items?
I'll make a motion to approve those items.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All ayes. Okay, we'll go to item 15, adoption of fiscal year 2026-27 city budget.
Written report, Eli
Thank
Martinez,
you.
Finance Director. Recommendation that the city council adopt resolution number 2026-42, approving the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget.
Sure.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor, council, staff, members of the public. As you know, you've had a couple cuts at the budget by this point. So today you're going to be looking at the final budget. And I want to remind you right off the top, these are unaudited preliminary numbers. And just extremely high level, this is approving a $3.6 million deficit in the general fund. The enterprises funds, however, is if you recall, those were balanced, so those are in relatively good shape. And I want to maybe just go through this memo table by table. That's probably the fastest and most efficient way to capture any and all questions. Yeah. So, table 1 here, just the general fund overview. As you may have recalled, in May, the budget that you looked at, the total revenue was 6 million. That went up slightly. There was some sharpening of the pencil in terms of revenues that came in late in the year. So we adjusted it to reflect those numbers appropriately. And so that's that 147,000. That was mainly the utility user tax, the business licenses, and cannabis. And that was on the heels of the council approving the new tax. So that was adjusted to account for that. And then as you can see, the expenditures unfortunately went up, but they went up by $820,000, despite the fact that there was $2.1 million added for Royal Theater soft costs. And so we'll go over the difference there in terms of what happened and and how we got there. So maybe go to table 2, please. So this is the biggest piece of it, in spite of the budget reflecting 7 layoffs. There was an increase in the budget because of the Royal Theater expenses on soft costs that weren't part of the prior budget. And so you can see that in the second line there, 372,000 went to $1.9 million. So that's a $1.5 million increase in the budget on that front. And again, that was all the soft cost difference. We had originally budgeted $9.8 million for the Royal Theater. Originally, the idea was that there was this $2.1 million of optional costs out there, which exist, but they're optional. But this $2.1 million in soft costs was sort of a unexpected increase. And so the Royal Theater to date has already expended $2.3 million, almost 2.4. And so that difference between the 2.3 and the 1.5 is really the increase in the budget. And so maybe if we go to the table 3. And so this is the high level changes from the prior version you saw and the new version. And again, we already went over most of this stuff here. There was definitely an increase in the deficit by $673,000 from one budget to another, and that was again Royal Theater driven. But you can see the department budgets by and large decrease. So there was a decrease in the police budget. There was a decrease in the finance budget. There was a decrease in building and planning. So all the things that we said we were going to do, we did. And so had it not been for that increase, that $2.1 million, we would be seeing a slightly, substantially lower budget deficit. Maybe go to table 4, please. This is just representing the revenues for the city. In a nutshell, your total revenue is 6.1 million, 6.1 and a half really. And the lion's share of that is just regular taxes from all sources. You have other revenue sources as well in there, but really the taxes is the largest part of that. Maybe table 5 now, please. And as you can see in this table, the combined difference, the combined safety budget is still going to be the lion's share of the total expenditures for the city. That represents about 53% of the budget. And you have this one anomaly with the non-departmental because of the Royal Theater that's coming out of the general fund. Anything that really doesn't get covered by fundraising is or a grant or something like of that nature is going to come out of general fund money. And then you have, other departments in there that are substantially lower in terms of the cost, but you see the order there in terms of the expenditures. The net effect of everything is an increase in spending by $820,000 for this coming fiscal year from the prior version. Next table, please. And then this one's probably the easiest one to look at, and this is the enterprise funds. You can see there was really no changes there from the prior version, and both of those funds are still balancing at zero or balanced budgets. The CIP fund, just as a point of reference, that's the expenditures going out or budgeted to go out for the coming fiscal year for capital improvement projects. And that concludes my presentation, unless there's questions.
Questions?
Just to clarify, the 2.1 theater soft costs, what constitutes the soft costs? What's an example?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm gonna ask for a lifeline for David. But
so any soft costs would be anything not construction related. Grants only cover specific things, so things like additional design that gets ate up in soft costs. Things like paying PG&E to place a power pole, just various different things like that get ate up into soft costs. And coincidentally, those costs are not as cheap as you would think. PG&E power is about 50 grand, SoCal gas is about 50 grand. So, all these little things you don't really think about start adding up fairly quickly.
So are we saying that in the preparation of looking at the expense for the theater, that those soft costs weren't considered, or they were under considered?
So being as I wasn't here, what I can tell from prior invoices is a lot of these numbers are compounding and now being brought to light. So things like in 2021 with the initial design, that wasn't under a grant. That was under general fund money that got compounded into the Royal Theater Fund and now has a $1.5 million soft cost attached to it. So there's various things like that that weren't accounted for with the whole planning and preparation of this project.
Could that number possibly rise?
What's that?
Could that number?
That number will rise guaranteed. Guaranteed. We owe, in order to complete the Royal Theater, we started this project at groundbreaking with a $3 million deficit to complete it to full hopes and dreams, right? That did not include the $2.1 million soft cost. The longer this takes, you're going to end up with an increase in construction costs, just guaranteed, just from what we're finding when we go to look at a footer and it's not to any kind of code, so you're incurring inspection costs, which are going to be soft costs. You're incurring product increases. You're going to incur lead time. You're going to incur everything's gonna incur. Everything's just gonna compound. So I would say that $3 million we started with will be 6 million on the back end, plus soft costs. Soft costs will probably double. And you have to think that, and that's ballparking. I mean, that might be going a little bit outrageous, but to be realistic on a project this size with the amount of things going wrong every time we touch the ground, we're gonna end up eating way too much.
No, that's not a good scenario, but,
I think the cheapest thing is the chairs.
yeah, yeah.
Can I?
Please,
please. I'm just glad to have clarity on this finally. Something that I've been requesting for a while. Has anybody done, specifically speaking about the Royal Theater, because that seems to be the biggest thorn in our side at this moment. Has anybody done a projection on what it could, like, I mean, you can, okay, well, we have this permit and we have this, and if, this does that.
So there's certain things we can project.
Mhm.
And we're working on trying to with the construction manager on the project to try to get a projection of monthly pay receipts that we would receive,
Mhm.
which is essentially all work being done, right? But they're running into snags with trying to find vendors to produce things.
Mhm.
So they're having a hard time providing us with things that we can forecast because they can't even forecast when they can receive a product.
Right.
So that's kind of the issue we're running into as of today. Today we found out we're looking at like a 7-month lead time on an HVAC system, and it's supposed to open March 3rd or 7th or 9th that week. So, we wouldn't even have an HVAC in time. So we're kind of like, okay, what's going on?
Are we gonna discuss options? I mean, if this is, I know that obviously we have a lot invested in this financially, emotionally, physically. Is this something that we have options to stop doing? I mean, this is one of the biggest things that I've, been concerned about for the last 2 or 3 years.
So it's kind of like two-part. It's like we can discuss ways that we can, because we can't, like, for example, an idea was stop construction, get all reimbursements, and then continue. Fun fact, EDA, we can't stop construction, right? So with that clause of not being able to stop construction, if we were to say, change the scope of work to say eliminate a building, we would have to submit it back to EDA to get EDA approval. And trying to get EDA to approve an invoice for reimbursement is like pulling teeth. So we've had to send invoices up to get kickback. We're contacting legal, we're contacting the surveyors, we're having people re-update the surveyed property lines and the county register so that we can get reimbursements. So they're nitpicking so much stuff. I don't know which one would be more beneficial at this point. Actually, we're gonna run out of money. So it's, but what we spent, we don't get reimbursed.
Totally. I would love to see the, some sort of, if we stopped right now, how much money would we be out versus if we continued, how much money would we be out?
Well, it's on here. It is $2.1 million spent so far.
Yeah, if you go back to the table.
Table 2.
Right, but like,
So
not just
if we
this.
stop right now,
Because we'd have other
that is
things
the
we'd have
money, but that's the money we've spent.
to. Okay.
You add 500 grand to it for construction costs, year, like month to date, maybe.
Yeah, and then,
So that's
there's
how much-
obviously, well, our marquee's gone, we'd have to get that, you know what I mean? Like, there's certain things. I just love to see some options. Not from, financially, yes, this lays it out, but like, this is a big problem, so.
Yeah, so if that's what council would prefer, some kind of like emergency option, we need to make that discussion. Like, we need to request that information now, because that's gonna involve a lot of wheels to start turning so that, because as soon as so it's like the building doesn't have a roof right now. So there's finishing a roof. And there's no back wall. And so there would be like things that have to be completed on that building. Like obviously you're gonna see the south building right now is that thing's gonna be done before the roof's probably on the Royal Theater. Like that building's gonna be up and running. It'll be inside niceties and stuff like that probably, but the skin will be done fairly quick probably. They're moving. But we need to do something before the east building goes up, or the one that attaches to the south, to the back of the Royal Theater. We need to pump brakes before then. But if at that point we pump those brakes, we do not get any reimbursement from EDA.
Right.
So all money spent is money spent.
Right.
So
But if we,
that just has to be like foot stomp. Like
if we have to spend 6 million more, I mean, that's where it's like, I'd love to see the numbers spread out like that, or put against each other. Not saying that I want to see that happen, but I would love a contingency option just to really assess. I feel like this project from the beginning has not had a super great plan. It's been several ideas and people kind of shooting, pulling money from here and getting it. But a contingency plan for what if, or I mean, ultimately I'd love to see it up and running as we planned, but not at the detriment of the city's budget. I mean, it already is, but any more than it already is.
So looking at table 2. Says 7 layoffs. Are those predicted to happen or are they happened already?
So some have started.
And how much of that is saving the budget?
If you were to look at table 3 and you look at the negatives in that chart right there under main change, that will be the projected savings, just shy of 1 million annually. That includes salaries, benefits.
Yeah, because
so this is a 4-year plan. This is 4 years with reduction of staff, reduction of services, to fix 10 years worth of miscalculations.
And then if I can just add to that as well, I think the other important notation with that, to add to what David's saying, is without the layoffs, you're actually making this a lot worse, right? And on top of that, this is the Royal Theater, presumably, if it continues, is a 1-year problem or issue, right? It's a 1-year challenge to make sure that it happens. So that $2.1 million presumably next year will be gone, but the rest of the deficit will still remain. And so without the layoffs, that will continue. And so without it, you're not gonna climb out of the hole.
You're compounding annually,
right?
Even after the theater's
so
complete.
because of the Royal Theater, we're playing with people's livelihoods when we should just stop it.
No, I think it's making it worse. I think the Royal Theater issues are definitely making it a lot more egregious in terms of the financial problem.
Yeah.
But
because like what was said, there's no plan on how this thing is going to bring revenue to the city.
Well, yeah, 100%. There is no operational plan for this theater.
And
Would we already run with a skeleton crew and laying off employees, you're going to put more of a workload onto your existing staff, and then things aren't going to get taken care of that we should be making sure is taken care of for our community.
Correct. But at this point, even if you eliminate the Royal Theater, you're still compounding a $2.5 million debt every year with no added revenue to take away from that 2.5 million. So you would still have to incur layoffs just to break positive after 2 years using the same formula.
But even
before you got back to 0 and could start actually rebuilding your staff.
But even with the Royal Theater being completed,
Even with the Royal Theater
there's
being
no
complete,
revenue coming in.
there is no additional revenue coming into the city. You can look around the city. That's common sense. There's no new economic improvements in the city.
Mhm.
Until that comes, there's no added revenue. There's no added anything. So this 2.5 million, next year is 3.5 million. The year after that, it's 4.5 million. The year after that, it's 5.5 million. It continues to grow unless the city grows. You have to have a balancing act.
Mhm.
We don't have a balancing act. We have a cost generating service that doesn't have any replenishment to the
And
purse.
We don't have the balance in that because through the years, at times, we're paying Peter, we're robbing Paul to pay Peter
150%.
instead of taking care of
Yes.
and all.
And now we're trying to fix that. And the only way to fix that is going to affect people's lives and the services offered to the city.
And I think the other thing is to remember is we're trying to avoid a much bigger situation, right? One of the things I mentioned last time we talked about the budget is the cash situation.
Mhm.
So we have a finite amount of cash in the bank, and we have this very large project that's going to be paid in cash. And so you have to imagine a situation where if we run out of cash, then nobody gets paid.
Mhm.
Right? So it's, cut a finger to save the body, right? Or cut an arm, however you want to put it. But I think that's a very important, perspective to take in consideration when you're looking at the things that need to be done to make sure that the city continues to go on. And yes, there could be a service impact. You can't have the same amount of services that you had before when you were paying a lot more money when you can't afford to pay for those services. It's just, you can't do it. And so I think the one thing that I think David's been doing, at least since I've been here, is looking at ways to make things more efficient. And I think if we can sort of, reposition the way that we operate and look at things more efficiently and ways to do the same to do more with less in a more efficient way without overburdening our staff, I think we need to do that. But I think there's, we've got to take some measures too. So I think, again, the cash situation is very important to consider.
I mean, one thing that has to be considered, and I believe Eli showed this the very first meeting or at one of these meetings, the amount of money we have in the bank versus the amount of money that we have on projects, right? And once you take all that project money away, the city shuts down within 12 months. Done. Nothing. No stipend for council, no paychecks for any staff. Done. Gone. Nobody's here. We can't pay power in 12 months, period. So if we don't take action, nobody's here. We're not doing this in 12 months.
So are we on a hiring freeze also?
We are hiring mission essential personnel only. That means fire captain. That is the only essential position we have to hire. But we're also going to reduce services throughout public safety and other departments. So we're at an impasse.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a great pill to swallow, if at all, so.
Jean, did you get the set of charts from when did we meet with you guys individually? Okay, so we're all on the same page.
Okay, any further comments? I think you laid it out, and both of you did, so,
Thank you both.
yeah. Yes, we need to look at adopting resolution 20. Okay, I'm sorry, there is. Thank you for letting me know. Andrea Maldonado. Sure.
Public speaker slips, try to do it in order so I can go first and Andrea can go.
Please.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And you're Leo?
Leo Decasaus.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Leo Decasaus. I'm a union representative with SCIU Local 620, representing employees here in the city of Guadalupe and throughout the Central Coast. The employees we represent are the dedicated public servants who keep this community running every single day. From parks maintenance, streets maintenance, general maintenance, finance, water and wastewater, and other essential city services. I wish I were introducing myself today under different circumstances. Unfortunately, I'm here tonight because 2 of our members have been targeted for a layoff: a finance clerk and a code compliance officer. These proposed layoffs are deeply concerning to our labor union, particularly given the information presented today regarding the city's fiscal year budget. The budget projects a deficit of approximately 3.6 million. However, the budget also identifies significant one-time expenditures, including approximately 2.1 million associated with the Royal Theater project. A fair and important question must be proposed. If a substantial portion of the deficit is driven by these one-time expenditures, why are permanent employee eliminations being proposed as the solution? Our members also share shared concern of continued budget approvals without formal audits. Permanent layoffs have permanent consequences. As stated by city staff, we are eliminating services to the residents of City Guadalupe. Once these positions are eliminated, rebuilding those services will be difficult. Our union is also seeking greater transparency regarding whether all reasonable alternatives have been thoroughly evaluated before moving forward with layoffs. We would like to understand how the city intends to maintain these services moving forward into the future and what impact these reductions will have on response times to the public. At its core, this issue is about priorities. When a city faces financial challenges, layoffs should be an absolute last resort, not the first option considered. Before dedicated public employees lose their livelihoods, the community deserves to know what every reasonable alternative has been explored, every expenditure has been scrutinized, and every effort has been made to preserve both jobs and public services. Local 620 and our staff remain, and our membership remains committed to working collaboratively with city staff and city officials to identify solutions that address fiscal concerns while protecting the workforce and the residents that depend on their services every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrea?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Andrea Maldonado, and I work as a finance clerk in the Finance Department. I have proudly worked for the City of Guadalupe for 1 year and 10 months, and I am here tonight to respectfully ask that the council consider alternative measures so layoffs do not happen. Over the last several months, my family has faced one of the most difficult experiences of our lives. While I was pregnant, my son was diagnosed with a serious congenital heart condition called transposition of the great arteries. My partner and I were told that he would likely need heart surgery immediately after birth or within his first week of life. Because of his condition, I had to relocate to Palo Alto during my maternity leave so I could complete my pregnancy near Stanford and be prepared for the specialized care he would need. When my son was born on June 7th, he was immediately admitted to the cardiovascular intensive care unit, where he spent over 2.5 weeks undergoing ultrasounds, tests, and constant monitoring. Thankfully, doctors determined that he was stable enough to delay surgery until he is older and stronger. After spending additional time in the patient care unit, we were finally able to come home. While we are grateful for that, his medical journey is not over and he continues to need ongoing care and support. Receiving notice of potential layoffs was the last thing I expected during such a challenging time. Losing my job would not only impact me, but it would also impact my newborn son, who depends on me. This job provides the income that allows me to support him and prepare for the medical needs that still lie ahead. I genuinely love working for the City of Guadalupe. Since my first day, my coworkers have made me feel welcomed, supported, and valued. I enjoy serving this community and being part of an organization that makes a difference.
I respectfully ask the council to exhaust every possible alternative before moving forward with layoffs. These decisions will affect real employees, real families, and children like my son who rely on the stability that these jobs provide. Thank you for your time, your consideration, and your commitment to our community. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
All right. What options we have? I know that every case is going to be a tough one in terms of health insurance, in terms of jobs. When we adopt this, if and when we adopt this budget, what flexibility do we have in terms of layoffs and adjustments, financial adjustments?
So without the layoffs, your options become, when do you want to go bankrupt versus you're gonna go bankrupt?
And I'm not talking about eliminating all of them.
So,
just-
I mean,
okay.
say you don't eliminate any. You have $5 million in debt this year, $6 million negative this year, or 3.6 or whatever it is, right? Next year, 5.6.
I see that.
So,
I
I
see.
mean, everything's just gonna compound.
Yeah,
So if you don't take any action, and just unfortunately, employees are the most expensive
Sure.
cost. You know, that's just the way it goes. So, you know, if we look at, say, eliminating all of enterprise personnel, right? For just for an example,
Mhm.
it's not going to affect the negative deficit,
Mhm.
right? So that's how detrimental the deficit is in the general fund. We
Mhm.
can eliminate whole other departments
So we'll
and
touch it,
not
yeah.
even affect
Right.
it.
Mhm.
So to say that we can, you know, hey, police, go write 20 extra tickets this week, you're not going to put a dent in that deficit.
Mhm.
You know, if anything, you might just start compounding it because now those cops have to go to court for overtime. So, you know, every little action doesn't necessarily decrease that deficit.
Sure.
It has the potential to increase, like PD, fire, going on a strike team. It increases the deficit.
Mhm.
If we, you know, keep the finance window open until 6 o'clock,
Yes.
it increases deficit. You know,
Yeah.
we're keeping people here that we can use processes to make things run more efficiently.
Mhm.
You know, sometimes it's not necessarily what we want to do. I don't think any of us come to work every day and it's like, man, let's lay some people off. That never happens. It's come to work, figure out how we can fix this problem so that if we have to reduce a 10% reduction in force, if we have to eliminate 7 people so 40 people can keep their jobs, I think we're doing pretty good as a city.
Mhm.
You know, you guys have people up here that work for private companies that are laying off thousands of people,
Mhm.
and we're laying off 7.
Mhm.
We're not even the tip of the spear when
Yeah.
it comes to laying off
I
people.
don't think we have any other choice, personally.
I mean, if
Yeah.
we did, we would have already exhausted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
and
we're making these assumptions based on numbers. We're not seeing the Royal Theater as a sustainable problem. We're seeing that as part of the problem, and how can we continue to correct that moving forward?
Mhm.
We're not seeing that $2.1 million as a one-time cost, because it's not a one-time cost.
Right.
It's a compounding cost.
Right.
So it's 2.1 this month, it's 2.2 next month, it's 2.3 the following month. It's compounding.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, all these funds that we take out on these grants, when we get behind like we are, it's amortizing. This
Mhm.
stuff is your home loan.
All right.
And every month you have to make that payment. Otherwise, and if we're not getting reimbursement, we're affecting our cash flow, and everything just snowballs from there. So if this month we paid $137,000 for 2 weeks of salary for city employees, that's $260,000 a month on average. Next month, if somebody works some overtime, that goes up.
Sure.
So $200,000, $250,000 times 12 months, whatever your number comes out to,
Mhm.
that's how much you spend a year. That's just baseline. That's not including anything else. That's not including niceties. That's not including, we want to throw overtime and put cops out at the fair or the parade or, whatever the case may be. We want to start to recoup Chief's cost for working with Austin. You might as well just chalk that up as we're doing our job and just write that as a wash, because that's not going to make any difference on our budget.
Sure.
It's just these minimal things. We're shooting high to make giant impacts quick so that we can get back to zero and start having a net positive from what our city can actually provide our citizens. And if we don't do that,
May I say
Man,
something?
Please. Okay, thank you, Dave.
I just want to clarify. Tonight, we're not voting on layoffs. I mean, I appreciate the folks that came out tonight to discuss that. I wish we had other options. This has been long thought about, not just by city staff, but by the council, by the mayor, by everybody involved, by HR. This is not just a willy-nilly decision to make. Thankfully, we all individually met with these gentlemen before this was even budgeted, before we saw this tonight. Months ago. And unfortunately, I am the last person that wants to lay anyone off. But unfortunately, I don't think there's any other options. They've been weighed. I trust these gentlemen that have provided this data. We've run the last few years with underperforming staff, to say it nicely. And we finally are at a place where we're getting straight numbers, we're getting straight information, and we're having to make hard decisions. And this is probably the hardest decision that any city administrator or city council has to make. But to bring that back, unfortunately, I don't think there's anything we can say or do about those layoffs tonight.
All right, we have before us, there's a,
Can
go ahead.
With this all going, have you guys met with POA, the IAFF, the SEIU, like to sit down with them and talk with them about maybe with their contracts, they can freeze some of that stuff for the time being till we get in an area of being able to start working back with those? I'm just saying, with the whole thing trying to, if we, as a city, if we go through every avenue and the last departure is the potential layoffs or the layoffs, at least we've exonerated everything as a city to these employees. So they look and like, okay, well, they are. So this is the potential is what might happen.
Okay. I'll give you an example, okay? If we talk to SEIU and we say, hey, we need to stop COLAs, that's $1.50 an hour. Do you think that makes a difference on $3.6 million? It doesn't. Not even long-term combined with every single employee. That doesn't help our deficit. If you just want to try to take this very slow and make this a 35-year plan, we can play these games where we say, hey, POA, can we take your 5% for your post? Hey, fire, can we take your 8% for your hazmat? And SEIU, can we take your 3% COLA? We can play that game. It's going to take 35, 40 years and none of us will be here. And it's just a problem for somebody else's kid. That's how minimal those affect a $3.6 million deficit.
I get that.
So that's
but
what we
at the
tried,
same
right?
time,
so
it's okay. We could sit here and go back and forth about it. Okay. Neither one of us is going to win. But in the sense is, looking at it from all avenues, I understand, okay, where it comes from. But there's contracts that are out there that we have with staff that have a big portion and stuff that goes on also. So I'm just saying, if Layoffs are gonna happen. I work at a school district. They've laid off people and let people go. They're looking at doing it again next year. Okay, I totally get it. But looking at ways of seeing how, just for the safer face of giving them that potential, it doesn't look as bad as where you're looking at coming in and am I having a job tomorrow? Is today the day I get laid off? For
I think
me,
we're lucky it's only 7 though. I mean,
I get that, but like for me, I can go to work tomorrow. They let me go.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person that, okay, here you go. I'll also go find another job. But not everybody has that mentality. It's just a thing. I get where you're coming from, David. Totally. We're in this financial hole. Stuff that Eli found from previous finance directors that were swept under, hidden, that wasn't brought to us. But I'm just saying, for some of this, is it gonna happen? Yeah. Because it just happened to some of our employees at the school. I know it's gonna happen. But it's just one of those things of just, I'm just asking, putting it out there. You gotta make that tough decision on how to go about with it. That's all I'm asking. I'm just saying.
I think it's pretty well laid out.
Yeah.
With the budget in terms of what's presented to us today. So is there any other discussion on this? Because there's a motion is there a motion to adopt resolution 2642, approving the fiscal year 26-27 budget?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2026-42.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Costa Junior,
No.
Councilmember Fernez,
Aye.
Councilmember Villegas,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Julian.
Aye. It passed, resolution passes. It's something for us to, I appreciate staff for really digging into the numbers. And it's not an easy task, looking at what's the best move in terms of humans, in terms of services. So, thank you all. Thank you, the audience, for participation too. So future agenda items, number 15. Did I go there?
I think you said 15 instead of 16, but that might have been.
Oh, 16, you, okay.
I do. I see that there's an upcoming master fee schedule update. Will that include a special event permit? Just like the Greens Festival, would that be included in that?
Oh, I think Eli's got a treat going here. I think this master fee schedule is gonna be super updated. We're even looking at third-party consultants to what do you call it? Nexus? Do a Nexus?
To perform a nexus study. Yeah, I mean, that's probably not gonna come up in the next month. That study will probably happen early next year to be implemented for the following fiscal year. To be quite frank. They have do a lot of work on that, so.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that somehow will be
Yeah.
included.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, the fees are very outdated. And so, I mean, that is a major revenue source for the city. And if we don't right size that, we're shooting
Right.
ourselves in the foot.
We're paying for somebody else's fun, huh?
Yeah, literally.
Okay.
Mr. Cinco, do we believe that the vacant commercial building policy will come at the end of August?
I would love to see that happen. And given your comment, I will try to make that happen.
Please, just
and-
because I know that this has been pushed back quite a
Yeah,
lot.
no, and it's an important thing.
Needs to be
the
addressed.
Part of it's part of the big picture, the economic development of the city, all of it. I understand. I just haven't really been able to get the cooperation I need from our building department, which is essentially a contractor. This is not something that's in their wheelhouse. So they've been some difficulty getting that I'm going to be working very closely with the fire department, Captain Schmidt in particular, to try to come up with a legally defensible structure to set that fee, and then we can move forward. But I haven't, as you know, I've had some personal issues that have delayed me. So otherwise I would have been able to promise that it would have been done by the end of August. So I'm still hopeful that that could happen.
Okay, thank you.
Any other? About the announcements, council activity reports? Ms. Villegas?
Yeah, last month I went to my first CCWA meeting, which was exciting. I'm going back there for a meeting this Friday with the executive director, Peter Thompson, to give me more insight as to what this CCWA agency is all about. So that'll be beneficial. It's a 2-hour meeting. And let's see. Yeah, last Thursday was the food bank. And again, this was the 3rd month that I thought the clients coming in were less than, this is like the 3rd month I saw both those that drive up and those that walk up, and I still am not quite sure why.
Still that we're in peak season.
Still,
So there was, in fact, there was 183 people that came in, so which is kind of average. During the winter, we probably see more, but a lot of, there weren't that many new arrivals, new participants. So most of
Yeah.
them were returns.
Returns.
Yeah.
Okay. Last Wednesday, I was down in Newport Beach, attending a meeting and a tour of the First Responders Wellness Program. And this is the program that Chief talked about. We had an officer several years back who went into the program and was successful, thank goodness. I was very impressed by, well, first of all, there were about 13, 14 individuals participating in this meeting from different police departments and sheriff's departments. So that was kind of interesting. The closest to us was 2 from Lompoc. They were there. And I was most impressed with those that are running the program, because they're not just psychologists, counselors, although they have appropriate training, but their background is law enforcement. So that really adds to the how they can appreciate and be empathetic to those that are going through the program. The training was more on what do you think goes on in this program? And here's what really goes on in this program. The individuals there's phase 1 housing and there's phase 2 housing. We took a tour of the phase 2 housing, which was a regular residence in a residential area. There's nothing that, is outside on the post office, the mailbox, or anything that would say it's anything other than a residence. And so we took a tour of the inside and whatever. It was very nice. So I was impressed with the program that offers more than what I think Chief realized, and certainly what I realized. There's a whole packet that we were given, all the different types of short-term programs that help public safety officers. I asked, only because I was curious, how many women go through the program? There were women in the program as we were there, and on average, about 10% of those that come through each year are women. So I thought that was interesting. A long drive for the meeting, but certainly worth my time.
Thank you. Anything? Christina?
July 3rd, I attended the Downtown Friday, connected with community members. It was really great and very well organized. There's hundreds and hundreds of people. It was really fun. July 11th, I participated in the Giants game in Santa Maria with my little French fries. Also purchased lemonade from young entrepreneurs. It was really great to see their lemonade stand. I think there's like a long line as well. So it was really fun. July 12th, had a conversation with Mr. Cinco, and July 13th, I met with Chief.
Gene, anything?
I attended the Junior Giants. I'm a volunteer also. I help out with the team called the Cheez-Its. My little niece is on there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they have different names. Think one of the teams we played this weekend was either McNuggets or Nuggets. Yeah. It's really fun to see all the kids trying out to do different stuff with it. I also went to the lemonade stand. It was around the corner from my house.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Was it good?
Yeah.
All right. How
Yeah,
much
there's
was it? How
a-
much was it?
It's $5. $5 for,
Or
but it's
donation. Yeah, really.
they serve it in a
That's how we
big,
can
in a
figure out
big
our budget,
container. You know, it's good size. They have, then if you want flavored, it's $1 more, $6.
Yeah.
But we have, there's a lot of young kids out there who are doing small little things, to earn a little bit of money.
Good.
And all, but yeah, if you see them there, try to help them out as much as we can. So yeah.
Right. I had nothing. So is there a motion to adjourn? Yeah.
Jumping at the bit.
A motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
ayes.